Bonjour à vous toutes. Bonjour à vous toutes et bienvenue à la session. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back. Bonjour à vous toutes cet après-midi. This afternoon, we will consider 6 new advocacy resolutions, along with one proposal to archive dated advocacy policy. C'est la journée des résolutions. And please remember, we are women standing strong, femmes debout et solidaires. And obviously, as you can see, we can survive any technical difficulty. Yesterday, we held our annual general meeting where we conducted our corporate business, the business we must complete to comply with the Canada Not-for-Profit Act. Today is our policy session. This is the business that is specific to who we are and what we believe. We will consider policies for advocating on behalf of women across Canada. If adopted, we will have the tools to advocate on behalf of housing, fossil fuels, domestic violence, and safeguarding of domestic animals. 2 SLGBTQ+ rights, access to sexual and reproductive rights, and period poverty and menstrual inequity. And of course, archive some resolutions that are no longer relevant. And now we will go to Audrey Hobbs for the land acknowledgement.
Collectively, the members of the CFUW respect and honor the traditional territories of our First Peoples across Canada. From time immemorial, Canada has been and is the home of First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. We reflect on the enduring presence of the Indigenous peoples. We acknowledge that today these lands continue to be shared territory of First Nations, Inuit, and the Métis. Reconciliation is more than just a word. It is a profound act of coming together to address past wrongs towards Indigenous peoples and move forwards together in a spirit of mutual respect, understanding, and healing. It involves seeing the truth of history, acknowledging the pain of suffering endured by others, and committing to actions that foster trust and unity. To us, reconciliation is both personal and communal, a journey that calls for introspection, empathy, and collective effort. It's actively building and continually building bridges. With thanks to Mary Scott from CFUW, who is heading up a project on looking at reconciliation.
Thank you, Audrey. Et maintenant à France Ramillard, présidente de l'AFDE Québec, pour la reconnaissance des territoires ancestraux.
Collectivement, les membres de la FCFDU respectent et honorent les territoires traditionnels de nos premiers peuples à travers le Canada. Depuis des temps immémoriaux, le Canada est et demeure la patrie des Premières Nations, des Inuits et des Métis. Nous reconnaissons la présence continue et résiliente des peuples autochtones. Aujourd'hui encore, ces terres demeurent des territoires partagés par les Premières Nations, les Inuits et les Métis. La réconciliation est bien plus qu'un mot, c'est un acte profond qui consiste à se rassembler pour reconnaître les torts du passé envers les peuples autochtones et avancer dans un esprit de respect, de compréhension et de guérison. Cela signifie voir la vérité historique, reconnaître les douleurs et les souffrances vécues et s'engager dans des actions qui favorisent la confiance et l'unité. Pour nous, la réconciliation est à la fois personnelle et collective, un chemin qui demande introspection, empathie et effort commun. C'est construire activement et continuellement des ponts.
Merci beaucoup, France. Merci, Audrey, et merci à Mary Scott. While we do not provide simultaneous interpretation for our Francophone-speaking members, we will provide help with translations on request. If you need translation support for a specific motion or resolution, please send a message to Jamie, Elizabeth, or Mabinti through the chat function. Please note that the general chat is disabled, as is the case for all policy sessions. With me this afternoon are CFUW VP Prairies and Deputy President Barb Gustafson, who will be pinned shortly, We will be co-chairing the meeting together, and parliamentarian Elizabeth Haynes. Our tech team is Jamie Bagan, CFUW Executive Director, Elizabeth Malcolm, Member Engagement Coordinator, and Mabinti Torre, Business Administrative Assistant. Our tech team will be responsible for the slides, and our amazing tech team members are also here to help voting delegates if they have any problems using the Election Buddy voting system. Debate on each.
Sorry about that. Debate on each resolution. Oh, you're muted. Muted. I'm sorry. I'm having issues with muting and unmuting today. Let's try again. Debate on each resolution is limited to 20 minutes plus extensions. Speakers are limited to 2 minutes each. Staff will be timing the overall debate on each resolution and will notify us when there is 5 minutes remaining for the debate. The Zoom timer will be used to time speakers, and our parliamentarian, Beth Haynes, will have the time projected on the corner of her video, and she will be pinned on the screen. The timer will turn red when there are 30 seconds remaining. Iman Al-Hid. Over to Linda.
We reviewed the meeting procedures and decorum during the business meeting yesterday. I will remind you of a few of them now. And there is a quick reference guide in the business and finance booklet. If motions are amended during debate, we may not be able to amend the slides in a timely fashion. When we can't edit the slides for you, we will give you changes orally, and the voting system will be updated to reflect the amendments. Debate is limited to 20 minutes per resolution, unless there is a motion to extend debate by no more than 10 minutes. Only 2 motions to extend are permitted. Debate will be balanced. The proposer will speak first to open debate and last to close debate. It will then alternate between con and pro. All other delegates may speak once to each resolution or motion for a maximum of 2 minutes. Any member of a CFUW club may speak to a motion. To speak in debate, raise your virtual hand when instructed to do so. When you are called upon to speak in debate, please state your name, club, and your position if you are an RD or a CFUW board member. All comments in debate are made to or through the chair. And as always, the chat is disabled. And we also refrain from using members' names or questioning their motives. Your questions need to be neutral. You must be a voting delegate to make a motion.
Motions that are in order include amend only if the amendment was submitted during the resolution review process. To separate, to vote on resolved clauses individually, to refer or commit, to send the resolution back to the resolutions committee for further consideration, extend debate. This requires a 2/3 vote in the affirmative and may be adopted through unanimous consent. End debate. This is also called previous question. Ending debate also requires a 2/3 affirmative vote. It is not an interrupting motion. You must enter the debate by raising your hand virtually when debate is called for. Debate will end when the time for debate has been exhausted, or there are no more speakers, or there are speakers on only one side of the question, or the motion to end debate is adopted, whichever comes first. If you wish to make a motion, you must submit it in writing through the meeting chat, as well as raise your hand to speak in debate. The motion will be placed on the floor only when you are called upon to speak. Some motions interrupt debate. If you would like to raise a point of order or request information, you do not need to wait to be called upon. Type it into the chat. You can use the form PO for point of order or RI for request information, and you will be called upon to state your point at an appropriate time. The motions to separate and amend require a majority vote. Resolutions require a 2/3 affirmative vote to adopt.
Several of the resolutions are comprised of more than one resolved clause. Each resolution will be presented as a single vote, considering all of the resolution's resolved clauses at once. Separating resolved clauses into individual motions requires a motion, a second, and a majority vote in the affirmative. Any voting delegate may move or second a motion to separate. As stated, the motion requires a majority vote, or it may be adopted by unanimous consent. In the interest of keeping the meeting moving, we will ask for unanimous consent before putting the motion to separate to a vote. If the assembly is asked to stand at ease, debate will be put on hold. While at ease, please remain on mute. The next business in order is the registration and credentials report. VP at Jamie will present the credentials report.
Hello. So for today, registered clubs, BC 17, Prairies 9, Ontario 43, Quebec 5, E-Club 1, and Atlantic 7 for a total of 81. Votes, so we have delegates at 233 and proxy at 6 for a total votes on floor of 239.
The question, okay. This is going to count as our voting test for today. The question is on the adoption of the credentials report. The chair assumes the motion. No second is required. The motion is debatable, amendable, and requires a majority vote to adopt. Remember when voting, if you have any technical issues, click on the participants and you will see the co-hosts. Pick one and chat directly with one of them, as we do not have the group chat in AGM or policy sessions. Right, so the polls are now open.
I do have a question while we're waiting. Concerning the credential for Quebec, we have 6 clubs in Quebec. Why is it that we have only 5?
I can respond to that. So that was the registration. So that was the number that were registered. So we didn't have one. That's why. So yes, we do have the total number of clubs, but it was the people, or it was the clubs that registered to vote.
Just to clarify, my code's not working and I'm sending something to Elizabeth. Is that who I'm supposed to send that to?
Yes, correct. And I got your message. Thank you, Jane.
Okay, great, thanks, Elizabeth.
Okay, mine was working, now it's not working, so I send it to
If anything
Elizabeth.
is not yes, if anything is not working, please contact me through the chat, Elizabeth Malcolm, and I will be able to get that sorted out with Beth, who is dealing with the credentials as well. Thank you.
My chat is disabled.
You should still be able to contact me since I am one of the co-hosts. If you click on participants and the three dots beside my name, you should be given the option to chat with me or click on my name in the main chat where I have been I sent the accessing AGM documents. But just give me a second. And if you're still unable to contact me, you can send me an email as well, and I will post my email in the chat.
Thank you, everybody, for your patience. As we mentioned yesterday, it's much better that we get this done now than when we're voting on our resolutions.
So I hate to use my voice here, but I tried emailing, it doesn't work. The chat is disabled. My Zoom buddy thing didn't work. I need to start again. If you could send it to me again, that would be great. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Adele.
You want me to unmute?
I hit that by accident. I apologize.
Is there any audio?
Not right now, Karina. We're just
Okay.
figuring out these tech things and we'll be back in just a moment. But thank you so
Right.
much for your patience, everyone.
Exactly what I'm trying to do. All right. Thank you, everybody, for your patience. The polls are now closed. Good afternoon, everybody. Here is the report from our first test poll, or the only test poll. We had 214 cast. We needed 108 to, I'm so sorry. We needed 108 to accept the motion. We had 214 for, 10 against, for a total of 224. So the credentials report is accepted as presented. Thank you. Thank you very much for your patience. If anybody is having technical difficulties, please reach out to us. We're following up with others as well. Thank you.
The consent agenda. The consent agenda consists of the confirmation of the standing adopted at the business meeting yesterday, adoption of the policy session agenda, and approval of the committee to verify the minutes, which is comprised of Iman El-Halis, Susan Lane, Margaret Tarian, Wendy Taylor, and Elizabeth Haynes. After review, the minutes will be approved by the Board of Directors. Do you wish to pull any of these items from the consent agenda for separate consideration? Seeing no hands raised to request separate consideration, we will adopt the entire consent agenda by unanimous consent. If there is no objection, the consent agenda will be adopted. Is there any objection? There being no objection, the consent agenda is adopted. Thank you.
Linda, you're on mute.
Yes, she's just talking amongst themselves. We had a request for some clarification, so we're just going over that, and then Linda will speak on it.
Is that what the issue is?
Sorry, there was a problem with the numbers before. We had in the affirmative, we needed 113 votes to pass the previous motion. We had 214 for the motion and 10 against. The next business in order is the report of the Resolutions Committee. Margaret and Wendy, please present your report.
Thanks, Linda. Margaret here. I'll present it. So Wendy
And I would like to thank the members of the Resolutions Committee, Maggie Buchanan, Bilkis McKen, Heather Oxman, Bonnie Jensen, Kenzie Zimmer, and Linda Sestock for their dedication to the resolution process this year. We received 7 resolution intents and are presenting 7 resolutions today. Thanks also goes out to all the proposers for their dedication and perseverance, and to the amenders for all the valuable suggestions. We received a total of 164 amendments this year from 47 different clubs. The Proposers and Amenders Workshop held on May 29th provided the opportunity to discuss the proposed amendments and refine the resolutions into the final form that is presented in the policy session booklet. And now on to the resolutions. We will read each one in English, and Francois Millard will read them in French. Wendy, over to you.
I need to unmute myself. Resolution number 1, addressing period poverty and menstrual inequity in Canada, presented by CFUW Milton and District and CFUW Perth and District. Resolved that CFUW urged the federal, provincial, territorial, regional, municipal, and Indigenous governments to improve access to menstrual products by mandating the provision of free menstrual products in washrooms in all federally, provincially, and municipally regulated buildings, such as transportation facilities, schools, shelters, libraries, sports facilities, publicly funded campgrounds, and community centers. Updating provincial, territorial, and Indigenous legislation, including but not limited to occupational health and safety, building and labor codes, to require all medium and large employers to provide free menstrual products, as well as access to WASH, which is water, sanitation, and hygiene, in all washrooms, gendered and gender neutral. Resolved that CFUW urged the federal government to reduce the cost of menstrual products by removing any remaining import duties, tariffs on imported menstrual products, and introducing measures to address the cost of period products for menstruators who are living in remote and Indigenous communities, experiencing poverty, living with disabilities, experiencing homelessness, newly arrived immigrants, and or vulnerable for other reasons. And now I'll pass it on to France, and she will do the French version.
Excuse me, are we not to see these in writing on the screen?
Yeah, I did. Is it not in in French?
Oh, sorry. Maybe I don't have it on the screen. Oh, there it is. Sorry, pardon me.
Now it's in English. Alors, résolution 1, lutter contre la précarité menstruelle et les inégalités d'accès aux produits menstruels. Il est résolu que le FCFDU exhorte les gouvernements fédéraux, provinciaux, territoriaux, régionaux et municipaux et autochtones à améliorer l'accès aux produits menstruels en d'abord rendant obligatoire la mise à disposition gratuite des produits menstruels dans les toilettes de tous les bâtiments relevant d'une réglementation fédérale, provinciale ou municipale, telles que les installations de transport, les écoles, les refuges, les bibliothèques, les bâtiments sportifs et autres centres communautaires. Aussi, en mettant à jour les lois provinciales, territoriales et autochtones, notamment, mais sans s'y limiter, les codes de la santé et du travail et du bâtiment, afin d'exiger que tous les employeurs de taille moyenne et grande fournissent gratuitement les produits menstruels ainsi qu'un accès aux installations EAH, c'est-à-dire eau, assainissement et hygiène, dans toutes les toilettes genrées et non genrées. Il est résolu que la FCFDU exhorte le gouvernement fédéral à résoudre le coût des produits à réduire le coût des produits menstruels en d'abord supprimant tous les droits de douane encore en vigueur sur les produits menstruels importés et aussi en mettant en place des mesures pour atténuer les coûts liés aux produits menstruels pour les personnes menstruées vivant dans des communautés éloignées ou autochtones, dans la pauvreté, avec un handicap, en situation d'itinérance, nouvellement arrivés au pays et ou vulnérables pour toute autre raison. Il est résolu que la FCFDU exhorte les gouvernements provinciaux, territoriaux et autochtones à encourager tous les établissements d'enseignement primaire, secondaire et, le cas échéant, postsecondaire financés par des fonds publics à, premièrement, fournir une éducation complète sur le processus menstruel et les options disponibles en matière de gestion de l'hygiène menstruelle en tenant compte des réalités autochtones, culturelles et de la diversité de genre. Aussi, encourager des conversations ouvertes tant à l'intérieur qu'à l'extérieur des salles de classe afin de briser les tabous et de réduire la honte associée aux menstruations. Il est résolu que la FCFDU exhorte le gouvernement fédéral à donner suite aux 11 recommandations du rapport Comité permanent de la condition féminine, atteindre l'équité menstruelle au Canada. Parlons-en.
Merci beaucoup, France. Pour San Français, I just want to confirm that there was an error in the slide for the French translation. It should have read Resolution 1, but it was the correct resolution. So our apologies for that. So now we're going on. Et je vais le dire en français aussi. Nous excuses. Il y avait une erreur qui s'est glissée sur le PowerPoint. C'est actuellement Résolution 1. Que France vient de lire en français. Merci pour votre patience. All right, so now the question is on the adoption of Resolution 1, addressing period poverty and menstrual inequity in Canada. I remind you that the debate is limited to the provisions of the resolved clauses. Backgrounds were provided to help clubs consider the issue, but they are not under discussion today. This motion is debatable. The motion requires a 2/3 vote for adoption. Are you ready for the question? The proposer may now open debate.
The proposer is Marian Marina Hussein.
Yes. Okay, I'll start now.
Go ahead, Marina.
Okay.
Just 1 second while there'll be, are you doing the clock? Just wait 1 second till the clock appears on the screen, please. And then you can start. Oh, it started. Please start.
Period poverty remains prevalent across Canada and exacerbates gender inequality. It occurs when menstruating individuals do not have access to affordable, quality sanitary products, safe hygienic spaces in which to use them, or the ability to manage menstruation without shame or stigma. The inability to afford or access menstrual products leads to educational absenteeism, workplace barriers, and health risks. The shame and stigma of menstruation experienced by many can be reduced by the provision of comprehensive knowledge that is sensitive to Indigenous, culturally diverse, and gender diverse populations. Recent surveys and public opinion studies support the need for action. A 2022 True North Aid study of Canada's northern communities reported that 74% of Indigenous respondents in remote communities and 55% in non-remote communities experienced difficulties accessing menstrual products. A 2023 public opinion study by Environics Research reported that 1 in 4 Canadians believed that periods were dirty and unclean, 1 in 5 believed that menstruation should not be publicly discussed, and that menstrual products should be kept out of sight. This resolution urges all levels of government to take coordinated action by 1, to address menstrual inequity by providing free menstrual products and by enhancing menstrual hygiene by improving water, sanitation, and hygiene facilities, And 2, to ensure the provision of comprehensive menstrual education to address the shame and stigma. Please vote to support this important and timely issue for those who menstruate in Canada.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Do we now, pardon me? That was you. If you now wish to speak against the resolution, please raise your virtual hand so that we can recognize you. We do not, am I mute? Sorry. We do not seem to have anybody who wishes to speak against the resolution. If you'd like to speak, so would the proposer like to speak again to give their closing remarks?
That's me.
That's Marlene.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I just thank you for the support of this resolution. I just had a couple of things to say. So from 2020 to 2024, we've seen a heightened focus on menstrual equity in Canada, with academic research, government initiatives, and community actions converging to address period poverty. While progress has been made, continued efforts are essential to ensure all Canadian menstruators live a life free from stigma, shame, and worry. While many CFUW clubs now include collecting period products in their advocacy and community initiatives, this problem goes beyond individual efforts, which is why CFUW Perth and District and Milton and District ask you to support this resolution so that stronger and broader action can be taken. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Marlene. All right, so now the question is on the adoption of Resolution 1, addressing period poverty and menstrual inequity in Canada. Please cast your vote as directed on the election buddy. And I just want to remind everybody who was in the meeting today, if you see a discrepancy on the slides, please reference the policy book that was emailed to everybody and that can be found in the chat. There's a link. It's also on our website, the members drive, and Friday's newsletter. But of course, that information in the policy book supersedes what we see on the slides today in case there are any other errors. Thank you. The polls are now closed. I will get you the report in one moment. All right. The policy session poll for resolution 1 addressing period poverty. And remember, we need a 2/3 vote. There were 237 votes cast. We needed 159 votes to pass. There were 234 votes in favor, 3 votes opposed. The motion is now adopted. And Wendy will now present resolution 2.
Resolution 2, expanding access to sexual and reproductive health services, CFUW Advocacy Committee. Resolved, no parlez-vous français. Resolved, CFUW commits to supporting universal access to sexual and reproductive health, SRH, services, including abortion, contraception, fertility care, maternal care, prevention and treatment of sexually transmitted infections, care of sexual and reproductive organs, and SRH education. Resolved that CFUW urge the federal, provincial, and territorial governments to expand access to SRH services through measures including but not limited to ensuring surgical and medical abortions are fully covered under public health care, increasing funding for timely delivery of SRH services, particularly in rural and remote communities, providing targeted funding for Indigenous-centered and culturally appropriate SRH services, offering a centralized referral system to locate SRH service providers, requiring comprehensive education and training on SRH trauma-informed care, cultural competency, and informed consent in medical and nursing schools, and delivering sustained funding to nonprofit organizations that improve access to SRH services for underserved communities. Pass it over to you, France.
Oui, accroître l'accès aux services de santé sexuelle et reproductive. Une résolution du Comité de défense des intérêts de la FCFDE. Il est résolu que la FCFDE s'engage à soutenir l'accès universel aux services de santé sexuelle et reproductive, y compris l'avortement, la contraception, les soins de santé, les soins maternels, la prévention et le traitement des infections sexuellement transmissibles, les soins des organes sexuels et reproductifs, ainsi que l'éducation en matière de SSR. Il est résolu que la FCFDU exhorte les gouvernements fédéraux, provinciaux et territoriaux à élargir l'accès aux services de SSR en prenant les mesures suivantes, sans toutefois s'y limiter. Veiller à ce que les avortements chirurgicaux et médicaux soient entièrement couverts par les soins de santé publique. Augmenter le financement afin d'assurer la prestation rapide des services de SSR, en particulier dans les communautés rurales et éloignées. Assurer un financement ciblé pour les services de SSR centrés sur les personnes autochtones et culturellement adaptées. Mettre en place un système d'orientation centralisé pour localiser les prestataires de services de SSR. Exiger une éducation et une formation complète sur les SSR, les soins tenant compte des traumatismes, la compétence culturelle et le consentement éclairé dans les écoles de médecine et d'infirmerie, assurer un financement perpétuel aux organisations à but non lucratif qui améliorent l'accès aux services de SSR pour les communautés mal desservies.
Thank you to Wendy and to France. The question is now on the adoption of Resolution 2, expanding access to sexual and reproductive health services. This motion is debatable. Amendments that were submitted and not accepted may be renewed. The motion requires a 2/3 vote for adoption. I'll ask the proposer to open debate. I believe it's Audrey Hobbs.
It is. I'm just turning my microphone on. Thank you. The World Health Organization defines sexual health as a state of physical, emotional, mental, and social well-being in relationship to sexuality, and assumes it's not merely the absence of disease or dysfunction or infirmity. Since 1970, CFUW has been supportive of sexual health, in particular abortion rights. With this resolution, we are reaffirming this support by stating clearly that sexual and reproductive health services, including abortion services, should be universally accessible in all provinces and territories. The ability to make informed decisions about one's health and body is a cornerstone of gender equity and a fundamental human right. Abortion care translates not only into physical and mental health, but also provides opportunities for education, employment, safety from violence, and parenting wanted children. Most abortion clinics are located in large cities. Access continues to be very limited in rural areas. People must go long distances and pay the associated travel costs, and this represents major barriers in many of our places in Canada. Other barriers include stigma, language barriers, experience of racism in the healthcare system, lack of education, and discouragement and judgment for anti-choice health providers. SRH services are vital to preventing unintended pregnancies, unsafe practices, and sexually transmitted infections, and at the same time, support mental and well-being. These services are key to achievable, equitable, healthy, and safe communities. Thank you.
Thank you, Audrey. Those who wish to speak against the resolution, please raise your virtual hand. Seeing none, we'll return to the proposer who has 2 minutes to close the debate, if you wish.
This resolution is designed to be expansive and allow CFUW clubs and to advocate for unique policies and programs in their local context, and may require improving access to sexual and reproductive health. Please support this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you. So the question is on the adoption of Resolution 2, expanding access to sexual and reproductive health services. The polls are now open. Please cast your vote by following the election body instructions.
close the votes.
The polls are now closed. Please give us a moment to tabulate the votes. Thank you. We've got some action happening in the background here. The results of the vote, 245 votes were cast. Required to adopt is 165. 245 votes were cast in the affirmative and 0 opposed. So the motion is adopted, there being 2/3 in the affirmative. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Wendy will now present Resolution 3.
Muted again. Resolution 3, supporting 2 SLGBTQ+ rights. CFUW Advocacy Standing Committee. Resolved that CFUW commit to supporting the human rights, equality, and inclusion of 2 SLGBTQ+, two-spirit, lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer plus people. Resolved that CFUW urge all levels of government to protect the rights of 2 SLGBTQ+ youth and adults, ensuring their access to healthcare, education, employment, and housing free from discrimination and violence. Resolved that CFUW urge all levels of government to fund programs and services that support 2 SLGBTQ+ people, including but not limited to gender affirming care, mental health care, community support services, and public education campaigns, with particular emphasis on meeting the needs of the most marginalized. Resolved that CFUW urge provincial and territorial governments to implement comprehensive sexual education curricula that speaks to the diversity of sexual orientations and gender identities in line with the 2019 Canadian Guidelines for Sexual Health Education. Go ahead, France.
I unmute myself. Résolution 3, soutenir les droits des personnes de LGBTQ+. Résolution du Comité national de défense des intérêts. Il est résolu que la FCFDU s'engage à soutenir les droits humains, l'égalité et l'inclusion des personnes de LGBTQ+, c'est-à-dire bisexuels, lesbiennes, gays, bispirituels, transgenres, et queer et plus. Il est résolu que la FCFDU exhorte tous les niveaux de gouvernement à protéger les droits des jeunes et des adultes de LGBTQ+, en leur assurant l'accès aux soins de santé, à l'éducation, à l'emploi et au logement, à l'abri de la discrimination et de la violence. Il est résolu que la FCFDU demande à tous les niveaux de gouvernement de financer des programmes et des services qui soutiennent les personnes de LGBTQ+, y compris, mais sans s'y limiter, les soins d'affirmation de genre, les services de santé mentale, le soutien communautaire et des campagnes d'éducation publique en mettant une attention particulière aux besoins des personnes les plus marginalisées. Enfin, il est résolu que la FCFDU exhorte les gouvernements provinciaux territoriaux à mettre en place des programmes d'éducation sexuelle inclusifs conformes aux lignes directrices canadiennes pour l'éducation en matière de santé sexuelle, rapport 2019, afin d'assurer une représentation équitable de la diversité des orientations sexuelles et identités de genre. Voilà.
Merci, France. Thank you, Wendy. The question is on the adoption of Resolution 3, supporting two SLGBTQ plus rights. This motion is debatable. Amendments that were submitted and not accepted may be renewed. The motion requires a 2/3 vote for adoption. Does the proposer wish to open the debate? Heather Oxman?
Yes. Am I on? Here we go. CFUW does not currently have any adopted resolutions on two-spirit, lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer plus rights or issues. This proposed resolution aims to fill this gap by affirming that CFUW is committed to this community's equality, rights, and inclusion, recognizing that the struggle for this community's rights is part of the wider struggle for human rights, which CFUW champions and ensures that CFUW spaces are inclusive and welcoming to all. Although discrimination based on sexual orientation and gender identity is prohibited by the Canadian Human Rights Act, this community's individuals continue to face violence and hate crimes. They continue to experience discrimination and marginalization when accessing essential services like healthcare, education, employment, and housing. The Canadian Medical Association and the Canadian Pediatric Society support the provision of gender-affirming care, ensuring that youth have universal access to a full range of medical care is essential for their well-being. Because transgender youth have higher rates of mental health issues, including suicidal tendencies, due to the stigma they face, the CMA and the CPS urge comprehensive health care options. They affirm the dignity and humanity of transgender individuals, reinforcing that everyone deserves access to medical support necessary for authentic self-expression, improved mental health and psychosocial functioning, and lower odds of suicidal ideation over the life course. Members of this community experience higher levels of depression, anxiety, suicide, addiction, homelessness, and violence. This is particularly the case for this whole community's individuals with other intersecting identities such as racialized, disabled, and young people. I urge you to support this resolution.
All right, thank you, Heather, for that. Those who wish to speak of against the resolution, please raise your virtual hand now. Yeah, not me either. Just giving them a chance. All right, I don't see anybody in that no one has raised their hand. Heather, would you like to give your closing comments now?
No, I'm fine. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
Give me a second.
There. All right. The question is on the adoption of Resolution 3, supporting two SLGBTQ plus rights. The polls are now open. Please cast your vote by touching or clicking next to for or against. The polls are now closed. Please give us a moment to tabulate the results. Thank you for your patience. Here is our vote result. We need a 2/3 vote for the resolution to pass. Votes cast, 241. Votes required to adopt, 162. Votes in favor, 240. Votes opposed, 1. The motion is now adopted. Thank you very much. And we will now go to Wendy to introduce Resolution 4.
Resolution 4, strengthening the awareness and safekeeping of individuals and their animals experiencing domestic violence. CFUW, Prince George. Resolved that CFUW urge the federal, provincial, territorial, Indigenous, regional, and municipal governments to recognize that cruelty to animals and domestic violence are often connected, known as the violence link, and to include the need for safety supports for animals of individuals experiencing violence in the home in the following ways. 1. Include language in appropriate policy and action plans that support victim survivors of domestic violence that reflects awareness of the violence link and the importance of animals in their lives. 2. Review and initiate programs dedicated to providing immediate care for the animals of survivors of domestic violence because they are also at risk. 3. Provide options for continued safety of animals after individuals flee domestic violence, including pet-inclusive affordable housing. 4. Provide sustainable and consistent funding for support programs. Resolved that CFUW urge the federal, provincial, territorial, Indigenous, regional, and municipal governments to raise awareness at all levels of society about the connection between animal cruelty and domestic violence, known as the violence link, by creating and widely disseminating informational resources and educational materials for the safekeeping of individuals and their animals. Okay, France, go ahead.
Résolution 4, renforcer la sensibilisation et la protection des personnes victimes de violences domestiques et de leurs animaux. FCFDU, Prince George. Il est résolu que la FCFDU exhorte les gouvernements fédéraux, provinciaux, territoriaux, autochtones, régionaux et municipaux à reconnaître que la cruauté envers les animaux et la violence domestique sont souvent liés, phénomènes connus sous le nom de liens de violence, sont souvent liés donc et inclure la nécessité de mesures de protection pour les animaux, des personnes victimes de violences au sein du foyer, notamment par des moyens suivants. 1. Intégrer dans les politiques et plans d'action pertinents visant à soutenir les victimes de violences domestiques une terminologie qui reflète la reconnaissance du lien violence et l'importance des animaux dans la vie des personnes concernées. 2. Réviser et mettre en place des programmes dédiés aux soins immédiats des animaux appartenant aux survivants et survivantes de violences domestiques en raison du risque qu'eux aussi encourent. Offrir des solutions de protection durable pour les animaux après que les personnes ont fui une situation de violence, notamment par un accès à des logements abordables et acceptent les animaux de compagnie. Assurer un financement stable et durable des programmes de soutien. Des programmes de soutien, point. Il est résolu que la FCFDU exhorte les gouvernements fédéraux, provinciaux, territoriaux, autochtones, régionaux et municipaux à sensibiliser tous les niveaux de la société au lien entre la cruauté envers les animaux et la violence domestique, connue sous le nom de lien de violence, en créant et diffusant largement des ressources informatives et du matériel éducatif visant à protéger les personnes et leurs animaux.
Thank you, Wendy and France. The question is on the adoption of Resolution 4, strengthening the awareness and safekeeping of individuals and their animals experiencing domestic violence. The motion is debatable. Amendments that were submitted and not accepted may be renewed. The motion requires a 2/3 vote for adoption. Does the proposer wish to open debate? And I believe that's Jane Young.
Yes, thank you. I'll wait for Beth. There we go. Research on domestic violence has revealed a strong connection between the abuse of human family members and the maltreatment of their animals. The overlap between animal abuse and other forms of violence, including domestic violence, is known as the violence link. When an individual is forced to choose between their own safety and leaving their animal or animals in a violent environment, at least 50% of them delay leaving out of fear for the safety of their animals. The vast majority of shelters do not allow people to bring their pets with them, and not all communities are set up with animal safekeeping programs, such as foster-based programs and partnerships with animal shelters. Therefore, a countless number of individuals are trapped in abusive homes because there is no one to care for the safe being of their animals. Our resolution focuses on two things. One, how do we help more individuals leave violent situations? The answer is we get their animals to safety too. We must urge our governments to support programs dedicated to providing immediate care and continued safety of animals of individuals experiencing domestic violence. Two, how do we raise awareness of this issue? The answer is we create and disseminate information about the connection between animal cruelty and domestic violence and how to provide safekeeping for individuals and their animals. Our resolution is important for CFUW as it falls within one of our national priorities, that is equity and social justice, where we strive to reduce and eliminate domestic violence. I urge you to support this resolution as it puts forward a proactive approach to both preventing domestic violence and supporting those experiencing domestic violence. Thank you.
Thank you, Jane. Those who wish to speak against the resolution, please raise your virtual hand. I recognize Janice Murphy. Janice, please state your name and your club, and then you have 2 minutes to speak.
Janice Murphy, Nelson and District. I might be out of order. I support it, but I had a question about the word home in the first clause, that it was limiting the resolution, and I wasn't sure how best to bring that forward, because it could be people that are homeless. It's at the very end of the first clause. It says violence is victims. Anyways, that was my point. I support the resolution though, and would just a friendly little amendment. Thanks. Is it clear where I'm talking in the first clause? At the very end, it's like the third to the fourth word. I can't see, it's not in front of me.
Yes, thank you, Janice.
Okay, bye-bye.
Does the proposer wish to respond to that request for information?
Yes, so just for clarification, Jess, so would it be worded violence in the home? And also for those experiencing homelessness? Is that what you're thinking?
Yes, I was thinking that there are people I know in our community who aren't in a home that are experiencing violence and have pets. And I really appreciate this resolution. And I just didn't want to limit our letters writing to the government that they would just be thinking of people that are in their home.
No, I really appreciate this. Is there a way to amend? I'm not quite sure with the
Sorry,
wording.
can I just interject for a section? Was an amendment put forward, Janice?
Well, I'm not sure if it's allowed. That's why I'm just.
No, unfortunately, it's not going to be at this point.
Okay, then I won't suggest one.
Okay, but we appreciate the comment. Thank you. Thank you, Jane.
So once again, we'll call for anyone who wishes to speak against the motion.
That was really a request for information. There's none. Seeing none. Does the proposer wish to close debate?
I would like to just express a few more comments. Thank you so much. In closing, according to recent estimates, 60% of Canadian homes have at least one cat or dog, and the number continues to increase. The vast majority of those who report having companion animals also consider them as part of the family. Victims of domestic violence are often emotionally close to and have primary responsibility for their animals, and we consider also farmed animals and service animals. Therefore, they are particularly vulnerable to abusers who would exploit this bond to exert power and coercion. And I'd like to give a quote by a survivor of family violence from a book entitled Not Without My Pet by Andrew M. Campbell. Leaving my pets behind just was not an option. No way. He would have killed them instantly. Since the local shelter did not allow them, my options were limited. We became homeless and lived out of my car. Finally, it is encouraging to see that the importance of animal safekeeping programs has recently caught the attention of the media, and it's also on the radar of an increasing number of domestic violence shelters and animal care organizations across Canada. This makes our resolution very current, and if passed into policy, will help to propel this very important support system forward to help countless individuals flee domestic violence. And I'd just like to thank my fellow advocacy committee members, Wilma Hislop, Jennifer Fox, and Donna Brundage for their incredible work towards completion of this resolution. And thanks also to the CFUW National Resolutions Committee for their assistance, and to all the clubs who submitted very helpful amendments and comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Jane. The question is on the adoption of Resolution 4, strengthening the awareness and safekeeping of individuals and their animals experiencing domestic violence. The polls are now open. So please cast your vote by touching or clicking as directed on the Election Buddy platform. Can we start to vote? Yeah, but why?
And Valentine, you have your hand up. Is this related to voting? Do you have an issue?
Yes, I was wondering if we need to correct the spelling
You might have put
mistake.
your hand up by accident.
No, I was
No.
wondering
Okay, we'll keep going. Thank you.
if we need to correct the spelling mistakes in the first part of the resolution before we vote.
It's not, thank you, Anne, but we won't be talking about that now. Well, if there's any spelling errors, we'll clean that up afterwards. Thank you very much for pointing that out.
Thank you.
So the polls, the polls are open. Please go to Election Buddy and cast your votes. The polls are now closed. Please give us a moment to tabulate the results. Thank you. The results of the vote are 239 votes cast, 160 required to adopt, 226 in favor, and 13 opposed. The motion is adopted, there being a 2/3 vote in the affirmative.
Thank you,
Thank
and we'll go back to Margaret to introduce resolution 7.
Excuse me, I'm trying to jump ahead.
Resolution 5, Equitable Phase Out of Fossil Fuels, National Advocacy Standing Committee. Resolve that CFUW urge all levels of government and the corporate sector to phase out the extraction and combustion of fossil fuels in an equitable manner to uphold Canada's obligations to the 2015 International Paris Agreement on Climate Change. Resolve that CFUW urge all levels of government to encourage a rapid transition away from the combustion of fossil fuels to carbon-free alternatives to enable the reduction and elimination of greenhouse gas emissions and environmental pollution. Resolve that CFUW urge all levels of government to educate Canadians about the environment and health risks from the continuing extraction and combustion of fossil fuels and about viable alternatives. Resolve that CFUW urges all levels of government and private sectors to support a just transition process that is as fair and inclusive as possible to everyone concerned, creating decent work opportunities and leaving no one behind.
Résolution 5, élimination graduelle et équitable de l'extraction et de la combustion des combustibles fossiles, Comité national de défense des intérêts. Il est résolu que la FCFDU exhorte tous les niveaux de gouvernement ainsi que le secteur privé à éliminer progressivement l'extraction et la combustion des combustibles fossiles de manière équitable afin de respecter les engagements du Canada dans le cadre de l'accord de Paris de 2015 sur les changements climatiques. Il est résolu que la FCFDU exhorte tous les niveaux de gouvernement à favoriser une transition rapide de la combustion des combustibles fossiles vers des alternatives sans carbone afin de permettre la réduction et l'élimination des émissions de gaz à effet de serre et de la pollution environnementale. Il est résolu que la FCFDU exhorte tous les niveaux de gouvernement à informer la population canadienne des risques environnementaux et sanitaires liés à la poursuite de l'extraction et de la combustion des combustibles fossiles, ainsi que des alternatives viables. Il est résolu que la FCFDU exhorte tous les niveaux de gouvernement ainsi que les secteurs privés à appuyer un processus de transition juste qui soit aussi équitable et inclusif que possible pour toutes les personnes concernées en créant des emplois décents et en ne laissant personne de côté. C'est tout.
Merci, France. The question is on the adoption of Resolution 5, Equitable Phase Out of Fossil Fuels. This motion is debatable. Amendments that were submitted and not accepted may be renewed. This motion requires a 2/3 vote for adoption. Does the proposer wish to open the debate? Alison Hobbs.
Yes, thank you. There are three key words in this resolution. First, equitable. CFUW must advocate for a fair and inclusive energy transition. Adopting the resolution will give us the authority to remind decision makers that communities affected by the inevitable job losses from the oil and gas industry and related industries must not be neglected. Robots are replacing people in these industries, which is already causing significant job losses. Indigenous communities must not be neglected either. The second key word is rapid. As members of this women's organisation, we must support vulnerable women and children. Imagine what will happen to them if global warming is not urgently mitigated. Worldwide, the number of climate migrants will increase to a chaotic extent and people will die. either in extreme weather events or in outbreaks of hostility or from starvation. A speedy elimination of fossil fuel combustion, the biggest contributor to climate change, is vital. The third key word is educate. One motive for adopting this resolution should be our passionate belief in the value of education, that is, education without deception. Earlier this year, the Canadian Association of Physicians for the Environment exposed the interference of oil companies in our school curricula. Canadians need to be made aware of the link between fossil fuel pollution and its effect on every part of our bodies, as well as our mental health. The possibility of a cleaner way of life should raise the morale of the whole nation. Let's encourage this.
Thank you, Allison. For those who wish to speak against the resolution, please raise your virtual hand. No. Jacqueline Goodall. Great. The floor recognizes Jacqueline Goodall. Could you please introduce yourself and let us know if you're on the executive and your club, please?
Yes, I'm Jacqueline Goodall, and I'm the co-president of CFUW Abbotsford. I'm sorry, again, whether or not this is debatable or not, I'd like to propose an amendment to the first resolution. I'd like to eliminate the words "in an equitable manner." I recognize that Allison has identified reasons to use the word equitable, but I feel that it limits the transition and the execution of this resolution.
So, Jackie, is this an amendment that was sent in and you're talking about the first resolve clause, I believe?
It was not an amendment that we sent in previously.
Then I'm afraid that we're not allowed to debate it here. The amendments needed to have been sent in previously.
Thank
Sorry
you.
about that. Yeah, that's fine. Okay. Is there any other, is anybody else like to have a discussion? Not a discussion, but do we have anybody else who wishes to speak against the resolution? Please raise your hand. Just give me a second. Thank you for that. I don't see anybody else in the queue. Allison, would you like to close, please?
Yes. The mayor of Jasper, Richard Ireland, lost his home in the fire that blazed at the time of our AGM last year. Since then, he has persuaded other Canadian mayors and councillors to sign a letter to all party leaders asking for fossil fuel subsidies to be redirected and taxes on big polluters increased. They want governments to help build a national electric grid that includes the North, to move ahead with a high-speed rail network, to build 2 million green homes, make buildings more energy efficient, and fund a national resilience, response and recovery strategy. Rather than building more pipelines, Mr. Ireland said, let's get a little focused on what matters. Scientists measuring climate change are dismayed by the evidence of acceleration towards irreversible tipping points. However, there'll be tipping points in society's response to this crisis too. New technology is advancing at a rapid rate. Once enough people see the benefits of deploying greener energy and less expensive, more efficient infrastructure, and once we realize that there are alternatives to familiar petrochemical products, the political incentive to get things done will no longer be lacking. The United Nations Secretary General said at the last World Economic Forum Summit, let me be very clear again, the phase out of fossil fuels is essential and inevitable. No amount of spin or scare tactics will change that. Let's hope it doesn't come too late. CFUW as a champion of safe and healthy communities ought to echo that statement. Thank you all for considering this resolution. Please now vote in favour of it.
Thank you, Allison. The question is on the adoption of Resolution 5, the equitable phase out of fossil fuels. The polls are now open. Please cast your vote by following the directions on your election buddy. The polls are now closed. Please give us a moment to tabulate the results. All right, for Resolution 5, equitable phase out of fossil fuels, we need a 2/3 vote. Votes cast, 240. Votes required to adopt, 162. Votes in favor, 229. Votes opposed, 11. So this motion, Resolution 5, has been accepted as is. One second.
The next item on the order of business is Resolution 6 regarding archiving of selected CFUW adopted resolutions. If there is no objection to the titles of the resolutions to be archived, as listed in Resolution 6, they will be presented on screen but will not be read out. Is there any objection? Seeing no requests to read out the titles in Resolution 6, that reading will be dispensed with, and we'll turn to Margaret to introduce Resolution 6.
Resolve that the CFUW clubs support the transfer of the following CFUW adopted resolutions, there are 13 of them, from the current online CFUW adopted resolutions book to the online CFUW archive policies book.
France, if you'd like to go ahead.
Oh. Il est résolu que les associations de la FCFDU soutiennent le transfert des résolutions suivantes adoptées par la FCFDU depuis le livre de résolutions adopté par l'organisme, actuellement en ligne, voire le livre des politiques archivé de la FCFDU.
Thank you. So the question is on the adoption of Resolution 6, archiving select CFUW adopted resolutions. The motion is debatable. Amendments that were submitted and not accepted may be renewed. The motion requires a 2/3 vote for adoption. Does the proposer wish to speak to open debate? I believe that's Terry Shaw.
Yes, thank you. The Adopted Resolutions Book Subcommittee of the Advocacy Committee would like to thank all the committees, committee members, and clubs who have assisted with this review process. All comments, there were no amendments, submitted by clubs through the amendment process were taken into consideration and have been responded to. The resolution is a continuation of the adopted resolutions book review project that was started in 2018. The purpose of this project is to enhance the value and use of the book. Further analysis of the book this year identified a total of 13 adopted resolutions which have achieved their objective, are outdated, or were no longer of value. It is these adopted resolutions that are identified in this particular resolution. If this resolution is approved by the membership, these policies will be removed from the online CFUW adopted resolutions book and will reside in the online CFUW archive policy book. Should be noted that all resolutions are still actionable.
Thank you, Terry. Is there anyone who wishes to speak against this resolution? No. Seeing none, Terry, as a proposer, would you wish to close debate?
Just to again say, the adoption of this resolution will instigate the updating of the adopted resolutions book, and also to say that we have appreciated your support in getting this job done.
Thank you. The question is on the adoption of Resolution 6, archiving select CFUW adopted resolutions. The polls are now open. Please cast your vote by following the directions on the Election Buddy platform. The poll is now closed. We'll tabulate the results. Thank you. The results of the vote, 236 votes cast, 158 required to adopt, 236 votes in favor, and 0 opposed. The motion is adopted, there being 2/3 in the affirmative. We'll turn back to Margaret to introduce Resolution 7.
Resolution 7, affirming housing as a human right and social good, CFUW National Advocacy Standing Committee. Resolve that CFUW urge all levels of government to work together to protect and respect the human right to housing within their jurisdictions by implementing policies and initiatives that increase the affordability and availability of housing, using all available resources and giving priority to those in greatest need. Resolve that CFUW urge all levels of government to allocate public housing funds to new affordable units, repairing and maintaining existing affordable units, and converting housing units so that all meet the criteria outlined in the Accessible Dwelling Standard and Building Codes and successor codes.
Alors, résolution 7. Affirmer que le logement est un droit humain et un bien social. Ça vient du Comité central de défense des intérêts. Il est résolu que la FCFDU exhorte tous les niveaux de gouvernement à collaborer pour protéger et respecter le droit fondamental au logement dans leurs champs de compétences respectifs en mettant en œuvre des politiques et des initiatives visant à accroître l'accessibilité financière et la disponibilité des logements en mobilisant toutes les ressources disponibles et en accordant la priorité aux personnes les plus dans le besoin. Il est résolu que le FCFDU exhorte tous les niveaux de gouvernement à allouer des fonds publics destinés au logement, à la construction de nouveaux logements abordables, à la réparation et à l'entretien des logements abordables existants, ainsi qu'à la transformation de logements afin qu'ils respectent les critères énoncés dans les normes sur les logements accessibles et dans les codes du bâtiment et de succession. Merci.
Merci beaucoup. The question is on the adoption of Resolution 7, affirming housing as a human right and social good. This motion is debatable. Amendments that were submitted and not accepted may be renewed. The motion requires a 2/3 vote for adoption. Does the proposer wish to open debate? Kathy Wozniak?
Yes. Okay. Federal Housing Advocate Marie-Josée Houle has stated that thousands of people across the country are having their human right to adequate housing violated. Affordability for those who need it most is being eroded. Housing insecurity is worsening. Adequate housing was first recognized as a human right in 1948 within the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, but while housing has been a fundamental right for over 70 years, it was only enshrined in Canada's National Housing Strategy Act in 2019. Of particular concern to CFUW, women, including those affected by gender-based violence, are overrepresented among those in need of affordable, safe housing. This resolution will enable CFUW to lobby and work with all levels of government and provide a basis for clubs and councils to appeal to provinces and municipalities to update building codes in order to improve the state of existing homes and to apply all available resources to increase the supply of adequate, affordable housing in new and currently existing neighborhoods. Clubs or councils will decide which actions best suit their circumstance and that they wish to recommend for implementation of this resolution. These may include rezoning, reducing permit fees, applying vacancy taxes, allowing secondary suites or granny flats, using vacant land for social housing, reducing taxes on property improvements that will allow for increased housing units, or other creative solutions. We urge you to support this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. Now we will ask the membership if there's somebody who wishes to speak against this resolution. Please raise your hand and we will call on you. We don't see anybody in the chat, so we will now ask Kathy, would you like to close?
Yes, quickly. Factors contributing to the housing crisis include aging public housing stock, increased immigration, red tape at the development level, anti-development sentiments in suburbs, geographic concentration of the population of cities, and incomes not keeping up with market prices. Marginalized groups, including people with disabilities, 2S LGBTQ+, post-secondary students, seniors, women fleeing violence, immigrants, Indigenous people, and racialized groups are disproportionately affected. I urge you to support this resolution and give us the mandate to use our voices to urge all levels of government to ensure that adequate, affordable, accessible housing becomes a reality for everyone in our country. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. The question is on the adoption of Resolution 7, affirming housing as a human right and social good. The polls are now open. Please cast your vote by following the directions on your Elections Buddy tab. The polls are now closed. Please stand by while we tabulate the results. All right. Policy session poll 7, resolution affirming housing as a human right and social good. 2/3 vote required. Votes cast 229. Votes required to adopt 153. Votes in favor 229. Votes opposed 0. This motion is adopted. All right. So Wendy and Margaret, please present your final motion.
I move that the chairs of resolutions and their committee be authorized to correct grammar, numbering, punctuation, and spelling.
All right. This motion also comes from the Resolutions Committee and doesn't need a second. If there is no objection, the Chair of Resolutions and her committee are authorized to correct grammar, numbering, punctuation, and spelling. Is there any objection to this motion? If so, please raise your hand. All right. Seeing no objection, the Chair is authorized to make the corrections. So the chair will, resolutions and her committee will be authorized to correct grammar, numbering, punctuation, and spelling in both regular and emergency motions. All right. Yeah, we're good. Thank you. Just one second. I think I mentioned it's very hot here, so please bear with me as we make it to the end. All right, so what happens after the resolutions are adopted? We'd like to thank everyone for your participation today in CFUW's advocacy policy session. I know that many of you worked very hard to get us to this point. And now that we have all of these important new resolutions, the next step is for the advocacy committee to review all of these resolutions and to discuss with your advocacy chairs how to best to move forward. Please stay tuned for the fall advocacy package and be sure to register for the fall advocacy meetings where you will have a chance to discuss the new and older resolutions and decide which ones you would like to move forward with. A big thank you to Margaret, Wendy, and her resolutions committee, and especially every club who has put forward a resolution or has taken the time to study the resolutions at their club. Thank you for all of your hard work to refine and improve the resolutions process to promote easy participation. A round of applause is in order for Margaret and Wendy, their committee, and everybody involved in the resolutions process. Thank you very much. Un grand merci aussi à France pour votre lecture des résolutions en français aujourd'hui. So before you leave, please stay. France, I see you have your hand up, but 1 second. We're going to be having a short video and then we're coming back and then we're going to be doing a group photo. So please don't leave. France, vous avez une question? On vous entend pas, France. Don't start. Okay.
Oui, je voulais informer les membres présents
I
que
don't hear her.
je voulais informer les membres présentes. Vous m'entendez?
OK, là, je vous entends. C'est quoi la question?
Je voulais informer les membres présentes que la FDU Québec ne dispose pas d'un comité de défense. Compte tenu de ses ressources limitées, nous préférons consacrer nos énergies à la mission première de la FDU et de la FCFDU, soit le soutien financier des femmes désireuses de mener des études supérieures. Si aujourd'hui les administratrices m'ont donné le mandat de voter en faveur des 6 résolutions, elles souhaitent faire savoir qu'elles ne pourront y donner suite pour le motif énoncé, et ce, même si elles sont toutes justifiées, amplement documentées et bien intentionnées.
OK, merci. Vous pourriez m'envoyer ça par courriel aussi, juste pour que je suis certaine de ce que on vous attend pas bien. OK, je remercie France. All right, so now I'd like to move on to, we're going to start a little video for you, and then I'd like you to stay on until the video is finished. Thank you.
Montreal makes every stay feel like more because everything about this city is so much more. If Montreal was a color, it would be a rainbow with every shade imaginable. If it was a flavor, it would be sweet, spicy, tangy deliciousness. If it was a style, it would be artsy, classy, maybe even a little flashy. If Montreal was a vibe, it would be as chill as this, as warm as that, as playful as this. If it was a venue, it would be something that's wow, charming, unexpected, and easy to get to. If Montreal was a night out, it would be a celebration, a get-together, a moment like this. And if it was a feeling, it would feel something like this. That's why, when it comes to your stay, Montreal makes it more.
Can we have the slide with the, oh, there we go. Mabinti is, everybody here is amazing. Thank you very much for staying for that video. We're looking forward to seeing you in Montreal next year, July 20th to July 24th. And then I just wanted to, oh yes, I'm going to adjourn the meeting, but please stay on. We're going to do a group photo if you're happy with that. Please keep the video on so that we can see you. If you want to be in the photo, and give us a few seconds because we need to go page by page. And then I just want to remind you that our theme for next, well, it's right there, right? I believe it's moving forward together. And I'm looking forward to moving forward together with all of you next year. So let's, what am I doing? I'm adjourning, the meeting is now adjourned, and we are now going to take photos.
Okay.
You need to unpin, yeah.
If everyone wants to smile for about 20 seconds as I go through each page. So 3, 2, 1, smile. I'll say it every time and then I'll click through the next ones. 3, 2, 1, smile. 3 more. 3, 2, 1, smile. 3, 2, 1, smile. And the last one. 3, 2, 1, smile. Thank you.
All right. Goodbye, everybody. Thank you very much. I wish you all a nice, cool Sunday afternoon. Well done, everybody.